What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here with some more NFL trade deadline discussion. So there's a report that was put out today that according to Diana Rossini, the Lions will be in the edge rusher market once again in this year's trade deadline. Now, I wasn't actually able to find the tweet or whatever it was from Diana Rossini that makes this the case. I just read it through The Athletic. There was an article, but I'm not subscribed to The Athletic as of now, that talked about this. So maybe it was within there. So we'll take it as it was because this is a good opportunity to talk about one edge rusher specifically. Someone that last year I was honestly not interested in trading for. I didn't see the appeal to it. I really wanted Zadarius Smith. There was a couple of other guys that we discussed, but we were all in on Zadarius, and that ended up happening, and that was great. But this year, I am interested in this player, and it's not because of just a random change of heart, because the way that he's been playing this season has opened my eyes to, okay, actually, I think I would be on board with making this happen if the Lions were truly interested in this. Now, you typically would hear me probably say at this point, like, hey, the edge rusher that I want is a cornerback at this time. But I don't really see that happening. Terrion returned to practice. He's not going to play this weekend, or Monday, I wouldn't expect. But after the trade deadline, understanding you're going to get Reed back, depending on what's going on with Khalil Dorsey, they've added Kendall Fuller and Arthur Molay. I actually like Kendall Fuller, so I don't really see something happening there major unless they get bad news on a lot of these updates in terms of cornerbacks. So because of that, let's just assume that this is true. The one guy that catches my eye and makes the most sense from the Lions' perspective is another guy that's come up in these reports. And according to Adam Schefter, he is one of the, 30 players that he listed as a guy that could be on the move as a trade candidate this year's deadline, and that is edge rusher Cam Jordan. Now, he's an outside linebacker / defensive end, typically aligns as a left defensive end or left outside linebacker, so he's kind of on that side that Hutch would play a lot of, but he's been able to play both sides. And last year, I wasn't that interested in Cam Jordan because I thought a lot of it was name. He was 35 years old. Now he's 36 years old. He's 36 years old. I thought a lot of it was name last year. There wasn't a ton of production that actually popped when watching him. He just didn't look all around that athletic. He had 28 pressures finishing on the entire year. I thought a lot of it was more name-based than anything. His snap counts has repeatedly went down to 48% in 2024. But this year, when he's been on the field, I've been very impressed with what he's brought to the table. And it's not just production-based. He has 16 pressures, which is fine. He doesn't grade out as like a great pass rusher this season, probably more average to below average, though I really like the way that he's played as a pass rusher because stylistically, he does fit exactly what the Lions would be looking for from a pass rusher perspective. And also, he's been big time against the run all season long. 10 stops as well this season, rating out a very high level as a run defender, only 3 missed tackles. So stylistically, I love that. We all know Cam Jordan as a person from the outside looking in, a great guy. Everybody seems to love him. There's a connection going back because of his time with the New Orleans Saints. So all of that makes sense. And financially speaking, from the Lions' perspective, it would make a ton of sense because it's not expensive at all. And I think that matters a lot, and it gets overlooked for whatever reason. It's like the Lions are going to go out there and spend $20 million like right now for an edge rusher. It just doesn't make a lot of sense based on the way that they approached this offseason. But Cam Jordan, according to Over the Cap, to acquire him would cost 1 year $1.25 million. That would actually be for New Orleans, who would have $17.5 million in dead cap that they would have to deal with, which would also mean clearing up cap space right now to make this happen. So the reason New Orleans would do this would be, one, they're just going to move on anyway because they already gave him a pay cut heading into the season, so it just makes sense. His cap it right now is like $6 million. Number two, just looking at getting some sort of draft capital return. And number three, if his snap counts are going to continue to go down, they can just lean into Carl Granderson, who they have multiple years under contract, and Chase Young, who's played really well when he's been on the field, as the future of that position, and just acquire whatever they can get. So if they're able to make the financials work, even if that means Lions taking on a little bit more than that number, now it makes sense for both sides. And then it goes to the film because that's where it really all starts. And his film is strong, and I've loved watching it so far this season. So let's start there first. The things that we know about Cam Jordan are still the same. A very powerful player, powerful in his punches. He plays with excellent urgency as a pass rusher and as a run defender. He plays with a fantastic motor as a run defender and as a pass rusher as well. And his body type is he's a big defensive end, a strong side defensive end that plays in a stand-up role on the ball that can kind of work out into the slot a little bit. This one Sunday is like a normal Sunday for all NFL fans. And there is this one app that rules them all. And its name is MyBookie. But today was different. Today, no NFL fans were in their seats. All living rooms were empty. Well, not totally. There was one NFL fan there, and his name was Dose. He was there to remind you. If you are new to MyBookie, use our code, and any bet you choose up to $500 is fully covered. Make your play, and if it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your bet back bonus token. He was the only one there. because at 12:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, every other fan stood up off their seat, walked downstairs, opened their front door, and ran for my bookie. For survivor pools, same game parlays, prop bets, and in game lines. And with my bookie, there was no better place to play. No one ever missed another opportunity to get in on the action. Football's back. Let's make some money with my bookie. Obviously, I don't think it's where you want him the most, but it speaks to the fact that he gives you an offset of balance of he's very powerful and strong at the point of attack like a Tyler Lacey. I think that he would add even a little bit more juice than Tyler Lacey does specifically, and maybe even a little bit more juice as a pass rusher, but he also maybe doesn't give you the same juice that an Alquani Muhammad does, but he gives you more of your typical edge-setting defensive end role with flexibility across the front that's done a lot of his damage as a rusher on the edge so far this season from the games that I've seen. He's got a very fast swim move that, again, speaks to the urgency. I think he does a lot of good things with his hand usage, the swim move, the push-pull counter setup that he has, the chop-rip move. A lot of things kind of work together for him as a pass rusher. It's not a one-rush or one-note kind of pass rushing sequence that he adds. So he's got a lot of that counter energy, and he does a really nice job in terms of second effort, quickly getting up to speed. He's shown some real acceleration, which has stood out to me so far this season, working in space or working to track down the quarterback. I mean, he chased Josh Allen once out of bounds this year, which really stuck out to me because he showed some of that closing burst and that closing acceleration that he still has to this point. He's a contained rusher at heart. He's a guy that really wants to collapse the pocket. There's not much bend to really speak of for him as an edge rusher, a guy that's going to peel around the edge and really be slippery and showcase slither. He doesn't have a lot of that, which does stall him out as a rusher because even utilizing his hands, sometimes it stalls out at the top because he doesn't have a lot of slither and ability to really make you miss. But it leans into his pass rush attempts stop at the top of the rush and they collapse. He's a collapsing rusher that still plays with a lot of jolt in the upper body. I don't think he's a dominant walk back type of rusher right now as a bull rush threat, but he does do a nice job of changing pace as a rusher, finding really good entry points and a lot of jolt and knockback on that first initial contact through the upper body and through his hands. All of those things that I like. There's real explosion there when opening up that first entry point with, again, fantastic effort so far as a pass rusher this season. And he carries that same energy and that same urgency as a run defender as well. He's got true ability to settle himself down, set a really strong edge and an anchor at the point of attack. I think his entry points are very strong and his body positioning is very consistent as a run defender. Outside of when he slides in a little bit along the defensive line and he'll kind of give up an edge to lose the fact that he's square to the line of scrimmage and he can give up a bit of an edge in those spots. Outside of that, and some of the lack of true twitch in terms of the stack and shed, it feels like it can be a little bit slower than what you would ideally be looking for at this time. Vision for the ball, he plays with excellent vision as a pass rusher. He finds the football well. He gets in pass lanes. He's impactful there. His energy is fantastic as well. Great job with the entry points of consistently working and getting under your pads. Now, again, some of the knocks that I have, the first step is not great in any way. It's really a little bit more below average, I would say. There's not a lot of juice within that first step. It's more of kind of a build-up acceleration that he has. He's not overly, dominant as a walkback type of rusher that's going to consistently sustain a dominant bull rush consistently through the game. It's more about that initial entry that he has. He also, to me, again, change of pace. It doesn't have a lot of shiftiness to it, even though he tries to tap into it a little bit early on his rushes, which I do like. But as the play rolls along, not a lot of shiftiness, and his change of direction, short area athleticism, that doesn't really pop either as well. So as the play kind of extends, you're not going to get a lot of shake at the top of the rush, for example. You just don't get a lot of that. And also, you can be a little bit slow to shed blocks, specifically with tight ends and pass protection. He'll typically win those matchups, but it just feels like it takes a little bit too long at time. A lot of flexibility or slither to his game either, as mentioned before. So for me, well, again, you're not looking at this as, oh, this is clearly the best pass rusher on the market, because he's not. The production is good. He's also taken a really strong amount of snaps so far this season. He played over 60 snaps against the Giants, only 38 this past week against New England, but he was effective in that game as well. A little bit less impactful when working on Will Campbell. But again, it's just the way that he plays, the style which he plays fits what the Lions would look for defensively. And he brings a little bit of both in terms of, value as a run defender, which has been great so far this season, which is where it all does start for the Lions. And as a pass rusher, flexibility, fantastic effort, and a pass rushing style that they would look for. And character-wise, I think you're going to fall in love with what you would get here in Cam Jordan. And financially, if the Saints are willing to do it, it wouldn't seemingly cost a ton. I mean, someone said a third-round pick. I think that's insane. There's no way you give up a third-round pick. But like a fifth-round pick that could do it based on the financial situation that New Orleans has to work through, or maybe if you took a little bit of that on, you could potentially get him for a little bit less. It just makes sense at this point in time to definitely give a call on Cam Jordan. Again, last year I wasn't interested. The change of heart is based on the film this season has been a lot stronger than it was last year, and I've enjoyed watching it. So if this report is true, he is someone I got to believe the Lions would have their eyes on. And maybe, it's one of the Cleveland guys where it's like, hey, maybe they got to pick between one of the two, Isaiah McGuire, Alex Wright, two guys that I liked, one out of Missouri, one out of UAB from college, two guys that liked Alex Wright, kind of a later round pick. Maybe it's someone like that again. You go back to that. Those guys have had fantastic seasons. They're just going to pick one of the two, something like that. But this is the player that truly catches my eye. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts. Shout out to my bookie for sponsoring today's video. Use code DOSE when you sign up, and I'm out.